What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. Week 7 of the college football season is in the books, so we know what that means. It's time for Week 8 of the AG poll. Alright, so before we get completely started here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below if you are new here. And if you enjoy this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, like this video, and let me know down in the comment section your thought on my top 25. Let me know your rankings down in the comment section. Who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? Who would you add into the top 25 I don't have? Let me know down in the comment section. And like I said, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. All right, so with that out of the way, we had a few dropouts this past week from who I had in my ranking last week. So West Virginia, I ranked them last week. They disappointed, lost on a Hail Mary to Houston this week. And then we had a few other dropouts here. If you've been paying attention to these videos, been watching my top 25 rankings, I've been telling you the Pac-12 is going to self-destruct at some point. They can't keep winning. They can't keep all winning. They're going to have to play each other. And when that happens, teams are going to start losing. So if you look now, there's only one team left undefeated in the Pac-12, and that's Washington. But dropping on my top 25 are Washington State and UCLA. Washington State got destroyed by Arizona, which is strange. Arizona might not be bad, actually. Barely lost to Washington, barely lost to USC. So don't be surprised if they knock off a few other ranked Pac-12 teams here pretty soon. But UCLA played with Oregon State, but just not as good. So we also had some newcomers to replace those teams, so let's get into that. Number 25, we got Tulane. Really, if their backup quarterback wouldn't have started at Ole Miss, against Ole Miss, they'd probably be ranked higher because they'd probably be undefeated. But their backup quarterback played for them against Ole Miss. That's the only loss here. And when you barely lose, I think they lost by 14-17 to an SEC team that's pretty good. I'm not going to knock you for that. So pretty solid loss there, I guess you could say. Number 24, James Madison. They've got some pretty impressive wins. They haven't necessarily beaten anybody in their own right, but they have beaten some teams that have beaten some other teams. You know what I'm saying? So let me check my stats here. So they beat South Alabama. That's right. So they beat South Alabama, and South Alabama beat Oklahoma State, which is looking pretty good now. Beat Kansas today, slowly moving up the Big 12 rankings. So James Madison, 24. 23, Air Force. They played Wyoming today in kind of a play-in game of sorts for me. The winner of that game was going to get in my top 25, depending on what happened today. But Air Force, undefeated. Pretty solid resume. Like I said, Wyoming hasn't looked bad. Their only other loss is to Texas. And they beat Texas Tech, so not bad whatsoever. Dropping down to 22 for me is USC. USC, they just haven't looked like the USC I was expecting this year. I thought this was a playoff team. Personally, I'll admit I thought this was a playoff team preseason. They just haven't looked like that. They got dominated today by Notre Dame. We'll see. They may bounce back. I think they'll take down the only undefeated team eventually in the Pac-12. That means they're going to be Washington. Take notes. But, yeah, they haven't looked like themselves this year. Yes, themselves, they still look like they don't have a defense, but they can usually score points, so I don't really know what's going on here. And not blaming Caleb Williams. He just looks like he has no help out there. 21, Utah. This team kind of bullied around USC last year. Utah still only has one loss. If they can get their starting quarterback back and Cam Rising, I think this is a top 10 team, top 5 team arguably. But that's a big if. He still hasn't played yet. But if he can get back, watch out for Utah. 20, Oregon State beat UCLA today. These two, talking about Oregon State and Utah, kind of above Washington State and UCLA, in my opinion, by just a hair. Now, they have all beat each other, but Oregon State did beat Utah, so I'm going to give them the nudge here. 19, Louisville. Strange week for Louisville. They lose to Pitt after beating Notre Dame last week and kind of handily beating them. Now, their starting running back was out, so I'm going to kind of give them a break here. A lot of people are probably going to drop them out of their rankings completely, but they did beat Notre Dame, so I got to give them credit for that because Notre Dame looks impressive. But Louisville beat Notre Dame. Like I said, though, today played without their starting running back, probably contributed a little bit to their loss because their starting running back kind of is their best player. So, 19, Louisville. 18, Missouri. Beat Kentucky today, pretty solid win. Not a bad win whatsoever when you beat a ranked SEC team. So, pretty good win there, 18, Missouri. 17, Iowa. A lot of people probably don't have Iowa ranked, but their only loss is to Penn State. And Penn State's a top 10 team. They did beat, who they beat today? They beat, I'm drawing a blank, I'm going to be honest with you. Iowa beat Wisconsin today. How did I forget that? Iowa beat Wisconsin by about 10 points today. So Iowa, they're going to be probably in the Big Ten Championship playing whoever wins out of the top 3 teams that I got further up in this ranking. 16, Clemson. Clemson, don't be surprised if Clemson wins the ACC Championship by the end of the year. Just saying. They have 2 losses now, Duke and Florida State in the conference, but I feel like it's going to play itself out eventually. Watch out for Clemson. 15, LSU. LSU won handily today. They do have 2 losses, them and Clemson and Notre Dame. Kind of my only teams that have 2 losses in my rankings, but they've looked okay. They kind of got handled at the beginning of the year, if you remember, by Florida State, but other than that, they've looked pretty solid. 14, Duke. If they can get Riley Leonard back, their quarterback, they barely lost to Notre Dame. I'd give them credit here. So Duke, benefit of the doubt until they prove me otherwise. 13, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, same old Ole Miss as usual. They're going to beat the teams they should beat. They're going to lose the teams they shouldn't beat. And that's kind of how it's going to be all year. Probably they'll be in this 10 to 20 range all year, depending on what else happens with everybody else, in my opinion. Number 12, Notre Dame. Looked dominant today against USC. Now, I'm not going to give them an excuse for losing to Louisville last week, but they have played the toughest schedule in the nation. They've played 4 top 25 games in a row. And when you do that, stuff's going to happen. It's going to be difficult, but they look pretty dominant today against USC. 11, Alabama. Kind of struggled a little bit with Arkansas today. But again, their only loss is to the team ranked above them in Texas, so not a bad loss whatsoever. 10, Oregon. Arguably should have beat Washington today. Came down to the wire. Pretty good game. Maybe the best game of the year so far. But they still kind of control their own destiny. If they win out, they'll be in, you know. Easier said than done. They kind of got to capitalize there and beat Washington, though. 9, Texas. Texas had a bye this week. Only lost to Oklahoma, and that was back and forth. They could have won that game. Have a win over Alabama. So Texas, the only reason I have them here is because I've got everybody else undefeated above them. Number 8, North Carolina. Kind of surprising me. North Carolina, I've been high on. I thought they were kind of top 15-ish team. They've got Drake May, so they got a shot, but they've looked good. They keep on rising every week. So at number 8, North Carolina, hey, they're still undefeated. Control their own destiny, like I said earlier. They've got a shot here. I don't know if they can beat Florida State or Clemson or Duke, but we're going to see. 7, Penn State. We're going to get to see next week. Penn State versus Ohio State. Can't wait. One of the biggest games of the year. And winner is going to move up to probably number 3, number 2. But can't wait for that game. See what Penn State's got. They haven't really played anybody, but they've dominated everybody they've played. So they did beat Iowa pretty handily, so I'll give them props there. Number 6, Washington. Michael Penix Jr. coming out on top against Bo Nix in Oregon. Washington, huge win. If they can win out here, they're in. Easier said than done. Like I've said before, I think the Pac-12 is going to dissolve itself. They're going to all beat each other. So they're going to lose to somebody, probably in the Pac-12. Just don't know who yet. Number 5, Oklahoma. On a bye again this week, but did beat Texas last week. Made a big jump for me, about 10 spots. I was kind of hesitant on them, but Texas, that win over Texas kind of proved them for me. Number 4, Ohio State. Like I said, they play Penn State next week. If they win that one, I'm probably going to bump them up because they do have that win over Notre Dame. But these top 3 teams have just looked a little better than Ohio State so far, in my opinion. Number 3, Florida State. Probably played the second toughest schedule so far. Have a win over LSU. Have a win over Clemson. And I'm not going to knock them for that. The quarterback did get a little banged up today, so be on the lookout for that, depending on what happens there. That could be a big blow, but I think he'll be okay. Number 2, Georgia. Still not ready to put them up to number 1. They're going to have to win a couple more games, beat a couple more tough teams, which isn't going to happen until the SEC Championship. So, number 2, Georgia. But they should be back in the playoff this year. And number 1 for me is Michigan. Michigan, again, has looked dominant all year. They haven't played anybody I know, but they've beaten the crap out of everybody they played. I think this is the best team in the nation. That's who I think is going to win the national championship this year. We'll see, because they've got a tough road when they start to play Penn State, Ohio State, but we'll see. But that's my top 25. Let me know your top 25 down in the comment section. Again, who do you agree with? Who do you disagree with? Who would you add? Who would you take out? Let me know. And like I said at the beginning of this video, if you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a thumbs up for me. And if you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more movies, sports, and gaming. So until next time, AG, out.